What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another exciting Art of War tier list. I'm here with Mr. Quinton.
Hello, it's a tier list Tuesday.
It's a tier list Tuesday. And today we are ranking the top 10 most evergreen units in Warhammer 40,000. What does that mean? It means we're ranking the best bang for your buck boxes of Warhammer that you could have bought. What purchases are just always good? What units do you just always want if you play a faction? There are some things that are, like a snowflake in the summer. Mm-hmm. They're great. And then they very quickly disappear as soon as Games Workshop notices and applies an FAQ to them.
Yeah, like a Land Raider full of 6-7 Chaos Lords.
Absolutely. It's great for a minute.
Yeah.
Some things, though, are great for years. Some esteemed units are great for editions. And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
These particularly are units that have been good for basically the entirety of the last several editions.
Absolutely. That is a minimum. Some of these are going to stretch for more than several editions. There are some units that have just been reliable.
Since the book came out.
Absolutely. So some of these are even better, are good even from before the unit came out. Like before they had a model. There's going to be one of those.
Yeah.
I'm already thinking about it. All right. So let's kick this off by, asking you, our wonderful viewers, to like this video and subscribe. It really helps us grow the channel. If you like this kind of content, make sure you actually like the content. It helps us, one, have a roof over our heads. That's very important to me. Two, helps us make Warhammer videos, and that's important to you. So let's work together. Click that like button, subscribe, share with your friends. You ready to get started?
But one thing before we do, is Quinton's fun fact.
Oh, of course.
Is that we're talking about evergreen trees, and according to popular myth, Martin Luther, the Protestant reformer, was the first person to put light on an evergreen tree and make it a Christmas tree.
That's beautiful.
I thought it was pretty free.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got 10 units that we're going to rank. But as always, when we make these lists, there's a couple units that are just almost there. Just didn't quite make it. So let's go ahead and give an honorable mention.
All right.
All right. The
mention?
First honorable mention number one is the Zoanthrope. So the plastic kit for the Zoanthrope has been good basically since it came out. You used to be able to make a Neurothrope and Zoanthropes out of it. You can also make Venomthropes out of that box. Zoanthropes and Venomthropes have basically been good since before the current kit came out. They're both very solid in 10th edition. Both units that I like to include in my 10th edition lists. Mm-hmm. They were both all-stars of 9th edition.
One of the best units of the edition.
Venomthropes you took a lot in 8th edition. Zoanthropes were a little wishy-washy, but they still came out at certain points. Mm-hmm. Like, you still could take Zoanthropes, even if they weren't always rock solid. But they were good before that. Frankly, I've been using Zoanthropes since 5th edition.
Do you remember the Doom of Malantai?
Quinton, do I remember the Doom of Malantai? I got that baby nerfed, and all other people. The Doom of Malantai used to make out of a Zoanthrope and some Trigon spikes.
Yeah.
That was a legend. But Zoanthropes and Venomthropes have just been good for about as long as the kit's been out. If you're a Tyranid player and you bought these when they came out, you have used them every book and edition since then. Promise. You've tried them all at least once, because they're just always pretty good. When Zoanthropes got nerfed so hard at the end of 9th edition, I really thought they were gone for good. Right back at 30 points. Venomthropes, right back 70 points for 3. All stars.
How much did they go to at the end of 9th?
Oh, a Zoanthrope was 70 points a model. It was bad, man. It was I think it was 70. Yeah, now it's literally, I think it was 210 for 3, and now it's 180 for 6. Now, admittedly, one of those numbers was ridiculous, and the other one is still ridiculous, just the other way.
Yeah.
But, woof. So, honorable mention, the Zoanthrope. Mm-hmm. All right.
Our second honorable mention is the Custodian Guard.
I do love that one.
They're quite good. I love how, the size of that unit fluctuates. Sometimes you want the tiny 3-man, sometimes you want the giant bricks of 10.
How you use them has definitely changed through the years. The Custodian Guard kit, I think, came out at the end of 7th edition, right at the end.
It was end of 7th or beginning of 8th, one of those two.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to lie. Custodies weren't very good at the end of 7th edition. They came out in the Burning of Prospero kit.
Oh, they did. That was Burning of Prospero, yeah.
Yeah. They had rules. They weren't great. But that's okay, because they got a lot better very shortly afterwards. As soon as Custodies got a book in 8th edition, they actually got more models. They got Alaris Terminators. We started getting some Forge World kits. Very quickly, they became a real army, which is nice, because I remember when they didn't even exist. But the old-fashioned Custodian Guard just the generic kit, dudes with shields, or with swords and boards, have always been a staple of Custodian's list. Now, a lot of this was a time when they had to be taken as troops, but still, either the cheapest troop choice that Custodians could take, which was valuable because Custodians needed that.
Yeah.
Or very tough with a Storm Shield or a Presidium Shield, as they would later get. Just the big hunk and shield that's in the kit.
Shield before a Custodian Guard.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was really good. I took them in 9th edition. I would take them. In 10th edition, they've become amazing.
They're one of the best units in the game.
I think that, honestly, this might be if I'm thinking about it, I think that the Custodian Guard has gotten better every single time it's gotten rules.
Yep.
In 7th edition, it was bad. You just, slotted into an army with no rules. It was just like a Terminator that, didn't have anything it was doing.
Yeah.
And then it, got rules in an index. Then it got rules in a codex. That was pretty good. Then it got rules in a different codex, and that was much better. And then it got rules in an index again. And now it kills people. Now
so
it murders.
hard.
So, I think that's true. I think the Custodian Guard has gotten better all 4 times it has gotten
I dread to
rules.
see what the codex is going to be like. See if the streak continues.
Wait!
Please.
All right. I think that's enough of the honorable mentions.
All right.
Let's go ahead and dive into the first of our actual contestants here.
Okay.
This is number 10.
All right, what is number 10?
Number 10 is Chaos Cultists.
A unit that is exactly the opposite of Custodian Guard.
Yeah, that's true. I think this thing it's been good a lot, though.
Yeah, the cultists are always good. Do they do anything? Not really.
They have.
I guess, yeah.
Or no, you weren't here in early 8th edition.
Was it like the infinite cultist spam cycle list or whatever?
No, they just did damage.
What?
Yeah,
Cultists?
I'm not even joking. They just did damage.
How?
All right, so let me spin you a yarn. So cultists came out in 7th edition, I think.
Yeah.
Or 6th edition. They came in one of the
Dark
boxes.
Vengeance kit. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And they've always gotten distinction as the cheapest troop choice Chaos Space Marines could take.
Yep.
Which back when you had to take troops was very important because, honestly, are cultists good or has GW always made Chaos Space Marine Legionnaires bad?
That's fair.
Who could say? They definitely went together because the cultist has always been better. Which means Chaos Space Marine players always need cultists. When cultists, I think we're at their peak in my mind, was in 8th edition.
Yes.
Because back in the day, you could give these cultists 40 guns, so you get in rapid fire range is 80 shots. They could always heal back and then get really close to people to rapid fire them. And then of course these cultists, you give them +1 to hit, you give them +1 to wound, then you give them full rerolls, then you shoot them twice.
Okay,
and
that is
once
pretty good.
you do that,
that does do damage.
yes,
Didn't they also
damage.
come back to life at one point?
Yep. Back in the day, Tide of Traders was pick a cultist unit that was, I think it was just below half strength, put it in reserves at full strength. And it just kept coming back. If you didn't kill the whole thing in one activation, unit's back. Oh, it's double tapping with +1 to wound. Woo! Yeah, those notorious veterans of the Long War Chaos Cultists. But cultists have just always been useful. Even when they're not killing things. Corn cultists were pretty good. They used to feed poxwalkers at different points in 8th edition.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
been really cheap, good objective holders and screens for Chaos before. Every single legion that can take them.
Yep.
Which now, as we add more legions, then more can take them. Except World Leaders. World Leaders have their own unique cultists, the Jackals. Yeah. But cultists have just been a good staple unit to own. If you're a Chaos Space Marine player and you don't own cultists, you're probably sad. And honestly, who are we kidding? You do own.
Buy some.
You do own cultists.
Yeah, because you play Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah, the Chaos Space Marine player doesn't own cultists. It doesn't exist. You own cultists. Use them.
Or you own the guardsmen you proxy as cultists or whatever.
Is that the truth? There's Blackstone Fortress, Trader, Militia. There's so many options. They're all cultists.
They're all cultists.
Yeah, just in general, good kit. They're good now in 10th edition.
Yeah, they're solid.
They stick you an objective if they hold it. You can give them any of the marks. If they're Nurgle, they can't be shot from more than 12 inches. You can do plenty of good things with this unit.
Yeah, I mean, just there's a lot of value in every edition of Warhammer of being cheap thing that exists on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a dude that takes up space and holds an objective, or pushes a button, or stands in an awkward spot so your opponent can't stand there, or screens out Deep Strike, or whatever it is. Cultists do it.
Cultists do it, and the cultists do it well. That's the important part. They're generically good. Yeah, so number 10, cultists. Let's move on to number 9.
Something pretty similar.
Something pretty similar. I would say the superior cultist.
Yeah.
These cultists have infiltrated our hearts. Because these are neophyte cultists.
Neophyte cultists.
It's like a cultist that does damage, more recently. Yeah. Yeah. Neophytes. Again, I think Neophytes are another one of those contenders for like just has gotten better every single time it's gotten rules.
Yeah.
Neophytes came out in 7th edition as part of the Deathwatch Overkill box. I bought like 3 of those things.
I remember that.
Those
yeah.
were so good.
With Kill Team Cassius?
Absolutely. But these glorious mutants, they're just another cheap unit that can just do things and be a screen. But then they also pack guns.
Yep.
And Genestealer Cult has become shootier and shootier as editions have gone by. And the Neophytes have gotten better and better. And they used to just be like cheap screens that would take up space.
Yeah, you take 10 and they're basically just cultists with auto guns or whatever.
Absolutely. But they were useful in every edition.
Yeah.
Because I've played Genestealer Cult since they came out in 7th edition. And again, I think they've gotten better every single time. They started out as just like cheap screens where you didn't want to really invest in all of the weapons. Then in like 8th edition, you start getting that new Genestealer Cult Codex. That was amazing for them. The Genestealer Cult Index was a little sus, but you work with what you got. And what really mattered though was that when they got that index, you started taking shooting armies. Like I know Nick took a nice shooting rusted claw list that has a bunch of neophytes. I had a bunch of neophytes in my list as well. They're just always have been good. Again, this is going to be a theme for this whole video, right?
All these units are always
good. These units are just always good. If you buy neophytes, they might get a little worse at some point. They might get a little bit better. But if you're a Genestealer Cult player and you buy neophytes, they're just always going to be on the list.
I think one thing you also notice is a lot of these units are like core parts of the army.
Absolutely.
The army doesn't function without these units. And neophytes, you really can't play GSU without neophytes.
Yeah, I mean, you could, but like right now, why would you? Yeah, neophytes in 9th edition were actually quite potent. They could ignore hit modifiers, electric seismic cannons. And of course, we all know what Genestealer Cult are doing right now, and that's whatever they want.
They're so good.
Genestealer Cult, so good. So they love having, all the different guns that they can take, just packing a bunch of mining weapons, coming back to life. They've been able to come back to life in different mechanics many times over the past couple of years. They are obviously keeping that intact right now. They heal and come back to life. It's a deadly combo. You just can't keep a good cultist down.
No.
Neophyte cultists, I think, are just always solid. All right. We're moving on.
All right, what's next?
Ready? Next up, we're done with cultists.
Done with cultists.
We're moving on to the Imperium, and next up is the Nemesis Dread Knight. I remember when this thing came out. It was so meme-tastic, a baby carrier. So I think it came out in like 5th edition.
Yeah, it's old.
This thing has been around a while. It's a venerable kit, but I remember when it was new. But it's just kind of been solid. Like we've always seen people make armies out of these. Is the main thing.
4 Nemesis Dread Knights has been like the Grey Knight thing for like a long time.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, Grey Knights could take Dreadnoughts, but we'll take Dread Knights instead.
Yeah.
I don't think when the kit came out, I don't think it was crazy.
No.
I think it was just good, but it wasn't crazy. But several points over the past couple editions has like the Dread Knight been just a build for Grey Knights.
Yeah.
It's just an iconic build.
Well, I mean, it's got this like very potent combo of being a shooty, punchy, durable, fast unit. It tends to not cost that much.
Yeah, because it's a mid-sized vehicle.
Yep.
But whenever a vehicle gets to do all the things, it's usually good.
Yes.
Because it's always going to be durable because it's always been a guy in Terminator armor riding a mech suit.
Yep.
So it's always has
had a save. Yeah.
It has a teleport homer on the back. And anytime there's a piece of a kit called teleport homer, every edition, Games Workshop writers can be like, all right, what are we doing with the Dread Knight? Oh, it's got guns and it punches. Well, if there's a Terminator, it's going to have a 2-up save. It's got a teleport homer. Give it some kind of rule.
Yeah.
And it just always has a rule to either move faster,
or
advance and charge, or teleport, fall back and shoot. It always has had some kind of mobility trick on top of being a dreadnought that is default having Terminator armor.
Yes.
And it's a psyker.
Yeah.
So it just always has a psychic rule. And it has some kind of teleport rule. It has 3 guns to choose from, 3 melee weapons to choose from.
That's another big thing is that like because it's a very versatile kit, which means that it has a lot of options built in, right? Because the weapons are so different, you're never going to see like Nemesis Dread Knight weapons. Although you might actually, but
you might.
For now, there's a variety of kits.
I will say a lot of these Evergreen units are Evergreen even more if they were magnetized.
Yes.
That's a common theme. But a vehicle with a ton of different dimensions to it and a ton of war gear options, if it's fully magnetized, this thing's gonna last forever.
Yeah, that seems good.
Like you could have magnetized this kit in 5th edition, you'd still be rattling out all those Dread Knights.
I do think that it's a little ridiculous, the dude, like, riding the front.
Oh, the baby carrier. It's
Yeah.
beep, boop, beep, boop. I mean, come on. It's beautiful in a very silly Imperium way.
Yes.
All right. Ready to talk about another
hero of the Imperium?
Beautiful Imperium model. This is the first loyal Primarch we got. You gotta show him some respect, Gwen.
Sometimes I forget how old this model is.
It is weird because I've played this. So, next up, Rabutegiaman, Gulliman, Robert, Gully.
How do you pronounce his name?
You know, I've never been confident in that.
Yeah. Games Workshop put out a YouTube video saying it, and then they also said Lieutenant, and I ignored the video.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like, they try to teach me with their British ways. I'm like, I can't put an F in Lieutenant.
No.
Like, I read it, it's not there, can't work. So then all the pronunciation is gone.
Yep.
Yeah, Gulliman has been out for a while, because, like, for so long, Primarchs, like, weren't a part of the game.
Yeah.
But then I have to remember, like, oh, this guy came out in 7th edition. He's been out.
I think Magnus came out before him, too.
Magnus was first. Magnus came out in 7th with Wrath of Magnus, and then Gulliman came out with Rise of the Primarch. But it's kind of dope getting a Primarch back in the game, especially if you played for a while without them. But Gulliman, if you're a Space Marine player, you probably own Gulliman.
Yep.
And every Space Marine player, when this came out, was like, I've got to do it.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't play Ultramarines, you bought Gulliman. That's what I don't play Ultramarines. I bought Gulliman.
Painted up in whatever chapter you wanted it and said he's your Primarch.
Yep. You take your Primarch, you convert it. Just having a Loyalist Primarch with a sword in your chapter color scheme is Evergreen. Mm-hmm. That's because he's a cool named character.
He is.
He's the face of the Imperium, which means he didn't have amazing rules when he started.
No.
But Games Workshop very quickly gave him good rules in 8th edition. And GW has basically anytime there's like a faction fundamental character, GW just gives them rules.
Yes.
And sometimes they're not worth the rules, but he always has had rules that were good. Just sometimes he cost different points levels. Yep. But Goldman keeps coming back.
He's the Adam Camilleri buffer beater fridge.
He is a buffer, a beater, and a fridge.
Yep.
I'd say the big thing about Gulliman is that of a lot of these choices, he's been the most up and down.
But
He always stands back up.
Oh, yeah. So sometimes he fails that 4 up. Or 3 up.
Never.
Never.
I've never failed that.
Gulliman has gone from being, like, one of the best units in the game to being terrible, but he's always kind of in there.
Yeah, he just keeps coming back.
Yeah.
Like, 7th edition, not very good. Beginning of 8th edition,
Best
faction defining.
Yeah. Game
middle
defining.
Middle of 8th edition, went down to being a little bit below average. End of 8th edition, amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay. Beginning of 9th edition, pretty good. Gets a little worse. End of 9th edition, maybe not as good. 10th edition, faction defining.
Yep.
Like, he's always comes back. And this is a call, by the way. If you play Space Marines and you don't have a Primarch on foot with a sword painted up in your color scheme, please do so. Please do so. The Lion is too new to be Evergreen.
Yep.
But honestly, if you painted up, Jagged Icon, holding the sword, you're good.
Yep.
Play it as Goldman, play it as the Lion, play it with your white scars, you're golden.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to the next one. This might be a little more Quinton speed.
I know. I love this model. It's so cute. He's got little, like, arms, and he's got the helmet on.
This is the sassiest Nurgling.
I know. He's the reason I play Death Guard.
So, the Nurglings.
Yes. This is not this specific Nurgling. This is all the Nurglings.
All
but
Nurglings.
I just love this Nurgling, so it's on here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Tell me about Nurglings.
So what do Nurglings do? Do they kill you? No. Are they like the best objective holder / infiltrator / annoying little booger men ever? Yes. Are they always like way too cheap and have way too many wounds and some weird defensive rule and an invuln save built in? Yes, that's Nurglings.
Yeah, Nurglings have just always been an insanely cheap unit for Chaos.
Yeah.
And Chaos doesn't have as many of those. So
These guys are really similar to cultists in that they're not supposed to do damage, so Games Workshop didn't give them a high price profile, but they're just incredible for mission play.
Yeah. Unlike cultists, though, I have no reason why. Because, like, a Dread Knight, I get it. It has a teleport home, it's always going to have one of those movement rules.
Yeah.
A Nurgling, there is no reason why a Nurgling needs to infiltrate. They could have, at any point in the past several editions, put their foot down and be like, you know what? Nurglings aren't going to infiltrate anymore.
Yeah.
And, like, that would be fair. You know what? Like, a Scout's always going to have a Scout. The Scout Sentinel's always going to have something like that. But a Nurgling doesn't have to always have this.
No, they just always do.
Always does.
They almost always also have some, like, weird defensive rule, like -1 to hit or something.
Yeah.
So they're always, like, way too hard to kill because they're, like, 4 wounds a base.
Yeah, it's always
and they're,
weird.
like, 10 points a base or something. And then they're, like, Govern Invuln save. So, like, you could just get scammed by, like, Nurglings way too much. So you have to overcommit to these guys that don't do anything but are sitting in the open on an objective, like, waiting for you to draw your guns out. They're just annoying.
Yeah. No, Nurglings are great. They've been very cheap troop choices for several editions, and they were mandatory for all those. You just took cheap minimum Nurglings, they scattered around the board, they held objectives back then.
Yeah.
Then going through the editions, like, even when they had, like, a metal kit, they were just tiny, impossible to see. They were good.
Have you seen the original metal kit?
Oh,
where
yeah.
it's, like, 4 slugs on a base, and the base is literally a centimeter high?
Yeah.
And you could hide it anywhere. You could hide it, like, on, like, the lips of the top second floor ruins and stuff. Yeah.
It was... Dude, I've seen those old Nurglings. It was rough to find them.
I think I still have some somewhere.
Yeah? You got some old Nurgly boys?
Yeah, my cousins used to play, so I have a bunch of their old stuff.
Nice. Yeah. Nurglings got the new model. The new kits are pretty dope. But they've just been good the entire time. Even like as an ally, like right now in 10th edition, people just take the Nurglings as allies. Like my Chaos Knight list has 3 units of 3 Nurglings in it.
My Death Guard list has 3 units of 3 Nurglings.
Yeah, they're cheap, they deep strike, they can infiltrate, even though they don't hold objectives.
Just go push buttons.
Push buttons, take up space, be a move block, do something. And they're always annoying to kill.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. GW just loves Nurglings. And, like, they've tried to make them bad before.
They're never...
Like, they didn't let them be mandatory. Like, they moved to fast attack. Like, they took them and said, oh, you're not a mandatory troop. Oh, you don't get OBSEC. And then they just, like, then they find a way. Because then Disciples of Be'lakor are OBSEC. Oh, look at that, they're good. Oh, wow, it's the cheapest Nurgle unit to fill the Nurgle slot. Wow, Nurglings are good again.
What a shock.
Just keeps happening. Can't stop making Nurglings good. All right. I think from the Davids of the game, you know, these tiniest, possibly the shortest model GW has ever made.
I think so, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let's step it up a notch. Let's go from David to Goliath.
Yes.
Let's go from the small man to the tall man. You ready for this? This is one that is near and dear to me. This is the Imperial Knight kit.
This kit is Evergreen. Might not always be the best, but boy, do you need this kit to play this faction.
Yeah, so magnets help, but the Imperial Knight kit that came out in like
7th? 6th or 7th?
5th. I think it was the very end of 5th, or it was beginning of 6th.
So I remember I was playing when it came
I think
out.
it was beginning of 6th.
Yeah.
I think it was beginning of 6th. The Imperial Knight kit is just so... One, it's iconic.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like, Imperial Knights, as soon as they come out as a faction, people gravitated towards them because it was super easy to buy, and the models were absolutely badass.
You need 4 models, they're really easy to paint, you have this amazing freehand potential.
Oh, yeah. Artists love this. Gamers love this. Casuals love this. Garage Hammer dads who just like making stompy noises love this. I also love this.
They're a fun faction.
They're a fun faction to play. They're super easy to collect. And the important part of the Imperial Knight is that it's not that hard to magnetize, and there's always a knight that you want.
Yep.
Unlike Chaos, Imperial Knights always want to have some number of big boys. Not always, you know, a ton,
lot.
but you always want some. And that ability to magnetize it and basically play any of the 5, 6 different units that you can build out of this kit. Because you can build 6 units out of this kit.
Yeah.
Like, I still have, like, I bought an Imperial Knight in 6th edition. I still have it.
It's on the shelf over there.
It's on the shelf over there, and I didn't magnetize it at the time, which means it doesn't see as much table play as it used to, but it could if I were a remotely decent painter back then, and if I were willing to repaint my first knight, which I'm not.
No. This is a kit that is, like, tailor-made for magnetizing, because the arm joint is the only thing you have to magnetize, and there are these giant, flat, like, already pre-drilled indents, so you just, like, put the magnets in there.
Yeah, super easy to magnetize. People even sell kits of it. It's, like, it's so easy to do. You can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong with this kit. Like, because it's also one of those things that it's so easy to buy into the army. Like, if you're just, like, a player of another faction, and you're thinking, you know what? I've already painted all my town models. Maybe I just want something new. Get an Imperial Knight army.
Yeah,
just
get
buy
4 models.
3 of these. Buy 3 boxes of Armigers. This has been around longer than the Armiger, so it wins. And that's all you do. You just buy 3 of that, 3 of this, and you just say, hey, I've got an Imperial Knight army. Magnetize the whole thing up. It will be an Imperial Knight army forever.
Yep.
Just good value.
Never going to change.
You can buy a Castellan at some point. You can paint up a special Canis Rex if you want.
Yeah.
But, like, just this kit always goes so far.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you can't go wrong with the good old-fashioned Imperial Knight.
Nope.
All right. Going on down the line. This is, I think, the newest kit that we've got.
I think so. Sneaking into number 4.
Sneaking into number 4.
We have the Infiltrators, or Incursors. The Phobos box.
The Phobos box. But, like, come on. Infiltrators?
Yeah.
Infiltrators just have a rule that is part of their identity.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, theoretically, GW could change it, but someone in GW has decided, nah, man, this is what Infiltrators do. This is their thing. And
I like
the
it.
thing they give you is just valuable.
12-inch no deep strike.
It's a Space Marine who is sneaky and stops people from deep strike. And that's their whole thing. That's it. It's a bolt gun. Sometimes it's a fancy bolt gun, sometimes it's a normal bolt gun. But forward deploying Space Marines are never going to cost that much. 12-inch aura of no deep strike is always a good rule. Anytime you can have that rule, it's nice to have. Sometimes the meta makes it more useful, sometimes the meta is not as important.
Yep.
But in general, having access to that is always a good toolkit, because it's rare.
12 inches versus 9 inches is huge.
Yeah, just don't declare the charge.
Yep.
As soon as someone's like, I'm actually +3 to charge, you can't declare it.
Yep.
Stop.
But also just like
the
sheer amount of space, the amount of screening you can get with 5 of these guys. Also, a lot of times people will have I show up 3 away. Infiltrators are like, no, you don't.
No.
Go away.
Yeah, 3 inches away over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't always a believer in Infiltrators. They were pretty good when they came out. I kept playing against them and being annoyed. I didn't have a lot in my Space Marine collection for a while. I got over it. Like I painted them up. I've got 15 now. But they're just such a dang useful unit. I mean, really, it's just that like Space Marines always need things around the table.
Mm-hmm.
Any unit that has like some kind of like forward deploy stealthy thing, like scouts, scout sentinels, rangers, all those units always get some kind of forward deploy rule across editions.
Yep.
That's always valuable. That's why, honestly, a good unit that could have even earned an honorable mention, Eldari Rangers.
Yeah.
They really could have gotten it on. They could have been on the
good.
list. They're always good because they just have the rules that tell that the fluff of them is I'm sneaky and I go around the battlefield.
And they're often troops.
And Infiltrators were troops for a while. They're no longer battle line, but that's fine now that that's no longer mandatory.
Yep.
But just having Infiltrators stopping people from doing their thing, infiltrating around, they hold objectives, they forward deploy, they get to a safe spot, they project a no-go zone, and that's it. And that's very good addition to edition. 8th, 9th, 10th. Mm-hmm. They've been great. Like, if you painted up the ones that came out in 8th edition in that special box of Chaos Space Marines or Space Marines, they have been good from that moment on. Straight to now, they've been good.
Yep.
Whole time. They've been expensive, they've been 120, they've been 100, they've been 90. Always have they been good.
Yep. And you also get the Incursors, which sometimes are better, but same box kit, so you can build or whatever.
Having forward deploying Space Marines, money. Always good.
I found out recently, it's just a bolt gun. I won't notice if you put Incursors as Infiltrators.
It's a backpack bit and a helmet and a bolt gun.
It's
and yes, you could pull that rug on anyone, though.
Yeah, they're the same model.
All right. So, Infiltrators, very good. I think we're on to our top 3.
Yep.
And I know we're going to start off with something close to your heart.
I think John and I had the exact same top 3 when we started.
Absolutely
this.
did. Yep. There were a distinct 3 that we could think about.
Yes. This one, I love. Second favorite unit on this list.
Second favorite unit on the list. All right. My favorite one is still to come.
That's fair. Yeah.
Ready?
All right.
Number 3. Drum roll.
The Crisis Battlesuit. This is probably, definitely, the most Tau defined unit.
Absolutely.
And Games Workshop has gone out of their way, except for a brief period in 8th edition, to make this unit just always good.
It's not always great. Sometimes it is great.
Sometimes it is the best unit in the game.
Always has been pretty
good. It's always been if you're playing Tau, you want these. Mm-hmm. If you're a Tau player, you should have at least 12 of these things. Just because, they're always going to be a core part of the army.
Or just get 30 and don't magnetize them. Just keep building different options.
Also, another good kit you want to magnetize.
Yeah.
Especially with the rise of having more accessible bits in terms of, you can just get a tray of cyclic ion blasters instead of having to buy, the commander kit or whatever.
Yeah, 3D printing changed the face of Tau.
Yes. The moment someone handed me a tray with 36 Ion Blasters, I was like, I don't have to buy 30 Commander kits anymore. No, but like, I remember back to 7th I ran these things when they could jump, shoot, jump. In 6th edition. In 5th edition, you ran them.
Yep. And they've had a new kit since then.
Yeah.
But like, the new kit is kind of like the Leviathan Terminators, right?
Yeah, it's the same kit, just way better.
Yeah, it's just sharper, cleaner. But like, if you had old Crisis suits...
I still run mine.
You could still run them.
Yeah, I put them on a new base, still run them.
Totally.
The old ones are a little bit blocky. The new ones are a lot more dynamic. But it's the exact same kit. There's nothing fundamentally changed. The weapons are all still the same. They're just a little bit cleaner. This unit sometimes is just a cheap harassment unit. Sometimes it kills God and his brother. But it's always had a defined role in the Tau Codex. The rules of the Codex have always supported this unit.
Yeah.
Commanders have always buffed them. Typically, they're also a unit that is fast guns that are deliverable, which is a very potent combination.
It's another one of those things where just the way Games Workshop writes rules lends it so that some units, and some factions we've even seen, are better than others. Like, we see it like, an army that has access to fly, and whose dynamic is, I'm tricky and I hit well.
Yes.
Eldar. Is always good.
Better than I'm slow and I have to walk at you.
Yeah, if your dynamic is I'm slow and I don't shoot very hard, then I'm so sorry you lost the lottery.
Yeah.
Tau's dynamic has always been, I shoot you, and I have battle suits.
Yep.
This is the battle suit with the most weapon options.
Yep.
So it's always has some play.
One thing that is, I'm so happy we kept weapon options, is that the Crisis battle suit has like 9 different options you can take it, and then a bunch of support weapons. So you can basically take this unit and do whatever you want with it. So right now, triple cyclic ion blaster was good. For a while, it was double burst cannon, or double plasma rifle, or triple fusion.
Missile pods.
Missile pods were great for a while.
Air bursts.
Yep.
So many options.
Every single weapon has been good. There were time when I ran double flamer suits for a while.
Ooh, wow.
There was a time
What
when
edition was that?
7th.
Oh, okay.
There was a time when I ran no weapon Crisis suits. My LVO 2017 list had 3 solo Crisis suits.
They just cheap?
Because they were Troops Choice. They were 22 points a model.
Oh, that's cheap.
Yep.
Just bumping around.
Yep.
That's
They
funny.
had no weapons, no upgrades. They didn't do a gosh
for the
darn
days
thing.
of free war gear.
Yep.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah, they're also, as a notorious Tau hater, the Crisis suit model is also
Real good.
really good.
Yeah.
It's cool. Like, it's the quintessential Tau combat battle suit with guns. It's a pretty handsome kit.
I have a bunch of the new ones. I have a bunch of the old ones.
Night and day.
They are the same kit. Like, it's very clear they're both Crisis suits, with a new one just looks gorgeous, and it still looks gorgeous. This kit's coming on like 10 years old. It's like 8 years old.
Really? The new one?
Like 2013. No. They're like quite... I think so. They're quite old.
Oh, I honestly thought they were newer than that.
No.
I just remember playing against Crisis suits forever.
The suits have always been around. I want to say they came out in the... No, they might have been newer. Because Tau got the big range refresh. We got the Ghost Kill and the Storm Surge.
Yeah, I thought that was like 8th.
That was 8th. When did suits come out? It might have been newer.
But
I'll
you know
look
what?
it up.
Whenever they came out.
Yeah, they've been out for a while. It's been at least like 9th edition.
And even if you had your old ones, they would still be good now.
I still use mine.
So, Crisis suits, Evergreen. All right, number 2 on the list. This one is near and very, very dear to my heart.
How many of these do you own?
I think I own close to 10 or 11 now.
Yeah, I own 1.
Fair enough. So we'll give a little bit of a hype here. This model, the version at the time, which was metal, but I still have it. I bought my first one and converted up a little bit, I think when I was 12 years old.
I was 12 when I got my first Crisis suits.
Aw, yeah. It's symmetry. But that was so long ago, and it's still, I could use it today.
Yeah.
Like, it has a place of honor in a shelf. It doesn't come out anymore, but the old metal Hive Tyrant. Because, number 2 on the list, the Hive Tyrant.
This kit builds Flying, Walking, and the Swarm Lord.
Yeah. So,
great kit.
Let me give you the history of the Hive Tyrant. So, in 4th edition, when young John first walked into a game store, the Hive Tyrant was metal, didn't come with wings. But you could give it wings if you were hobby-oriented or willing to do some stuff. And the winged Hive Tyrant was awesome. It was great. In 4th edition, it was amazing, and I took it. I took a Heroescape dragon, cut the wings off, green stuffed them, the old metal bricks.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's what that is.
I've always wondered what that is.
And that's the old flyer got me far. I played that with that model for like 4 editions. There did come a point where the size creep of the new Flying Hive Tyrant became relevant to the game, and I had to start using the plastic ones. But man, Flying Hive Tyrants just have been good forever. 4th edition, you took them with twin-linked Devours. 5th edition, you took them with 2 twin-linked Devours. 6th edition, you took them with 2 twin-linked Devours.
And Brainleech Fronts.
You took you took like the flamer on the carapace. Man, I missed that. You took like the bio grubs. Oh god, electroshock grubs, that was it. Oof, that was good. 7th edition, you took them with twin link Devours. 8th edition, you didn't do that anymore. I'm just kidding. You took twin link Devours. But at a certain point in 8th edition, you stopped doing that and you started taking like combat weapons.
Yeah.
9th edition,
Reaper of Obliterax.
Reaper of Obliterax. Yeah.
Boy moved 25 inches and punted a knight.
Yeah, or like, oh man, when you could have this Swarmlord double move, like the Hive Tyrant kit, usually it's been the flying one, but I don't think there has been a point in the 15 years I have played Tyranids that I have not wanted a Hive Tyrant.
Yeah, this was the kit where we were talking about the start of this tier list. We were like, what are units like the Flying Hive Tyrant? That is just
this is
good.
Inspirational.
Yeah.
Because like, I love this model.
It's so good.
The size of it has not aged well in the fact that the rest of the game has gotten bigger than the Hive Tyrant.
Yes.
And there was a point where the Hive Tyrant was one of the largest monsters in the game.
Yeah.
The metal Hive Tyrant that John bought 15 years ago, more than 15 years ago, good golly Miss Molly, I'm getting old. That Hive Tyrant was the biggest monster in the game, other than maybe the Carnifex.
Yeah. And now...
And that is no longer the case.
There's some, like, Primaris Marines that are...
Pharaoh's Ironfather could have a staring contest with a Hive Tyrant, and that's okay.
I hope that we get the new Norn Emissary. I want a Hive Tyrant that big.
Norn Emissary is the new Hive Tyrant as far as I'm concerned. I'm buying 6 of those. No, admittedly, I used to run, like, 7 Flyrants, and since then I bought a couple Walkrants. I have 2 Swarmlords. But this kit can build the Swarmlord. So if you magnetized one of these thoroughly, because you can actually magnetize the wings and everything else on it.
Really?
You can do it. I did it once. It was a lot of effort. So honestly, I just kind of have flying magnetized and walking magnetized. But still, this kit will take you miles. This kit will go wherever you want because the Swarmlord has been great for many editions since he came out. He was a combat monster when he came out. Then he has been an essential buff piece, then a different essential buff piece. He's been good across 4. I think he came out in 6th was when the Swarmlord got rules in 5th. He just didn't get a model until 6th.
Yeah.
Because this plastic kit came out in 6th edition, but it's a good looking kit for how old it is. Mm-hmm. This thing did come out a while ago.
Oh look, when I was building and painting my Flying Hive Tyrant for my brief Tyranid escapade, I was impressed at how much I was like, this is a solid kit.
And the best part is that it's just a redo of a sculpt from 4th edition.
Yeah.
Like a metal Hive Tyrant is indistinguishable from a plastic Hive Tyrant.
Really?
It is the same. They just changed the mold. It is the same kit.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of the few things that they took from metal to but it is, I can show you pictures. It is the same kit. So they even still use it in White Dwarf. It's funny. Oh my god, it's the same model. We noticed. Yeah, the old Hive Tyrant. Just this is honestly I think is my favorite unit in 40k.
Yeah.
Just the Flying Hive Tyrant in general.
One of my favorites I think is coming up next.
Yeah, the new model is beautiful. The walking one is still great. A walking Hive Tyrant is very good right now. Flying Hive Tyrant is not in my list for again the first time in literal years.
Yeah.
But either a Hive Tyrant or the Swarmlord or a Flying Hive Tyrant has been in just about every Tyranid list I have written in 15 years. They're iconic.
Yeah.
They have served me so well. I still think the model I have the most games with is that 4th edition Metal Hive Tyrant. Because I rocked that thing from 4th to 7th edition.
Mine is my magnetized Tau Commander went from 6th to 10th.
Yeah, just rock solid.
Yeah.
All right, we've got only one left. Mm-hmm. The number 1. This is the most evergreen thing you could buy.
Near and dear to my heart.
All right, Quinton, take it away.
The Eldar Farseer. You want to talk about a unit that has not been good, but has been, first unit you put in when you are building a list kind of mandatory for the last, the entirety of Warhammer.
Yeah.
This unit has never not been good.
When did the Farseer come out? Like second, third?
Second or third, yeah. The old little Farseer, which is still like a great kit, by the way.
Yeah.
The one where she's like on a rock, like holding the knife out, that one's great.
That one was pretty good.
Yeah. But like every time I can remember writing an Eldar list, it starts with the Farseer.
I have nothing bad to say about the Farseer.
Just Eldar are a faction that requires you to cast psychic buffs in some form or fashion to be good, and the Farseer has always been one of the best psychers in the game for good reasons. They deserve to be. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah. Like, at its core, this is a high elf faction, and the Farseers are, like, high elf wizards.
Yeah. And, again, it's one of those things where certain units that are just fundamental, the core of a faction's identity, are always good.
Yeah.
Tyranids, it's the leader, right? You know, the whole thing of Tyranids is the Synapse. The Hive Tyrant is the core of Synapse.
Yep.
The Farseer does the Eldar thing. Eldar are the old alien, elves that are guided by their seers to see the future and buffed by psychic powers. Okay.
Farseer's just always been the preferred vector for casting stuff. They typically have some kind of like enhanced casting mechanic, whether it's the runes of the Farseer or strands of fate. The Ghost Helm almost always ignores some kind of perils. For a while, it was a 2-up feeling no pain against like perils mortals. For a while, then it was just you don't take perils. In 10th edition, every other faction, you take mortals and you roll a 1. Farseers are like, I got a Ghost Helm, I'm better than you. They also tend to interact sometimes with the army mechanic. They're just really good. Also, don't underestimate that Singing Spear, because sometimes they just do hilarious damage.
Yeah, no, they've, for whatever reason, like, the fluff of the sword or the spear that they have is, I just wound everything and I have some damage. And so they always do a little more than you want. They always make you take saves. I hate rolling dice.
Yep.
And the Farseer has just always been, I know the best Eldar spells, and Eldar's fluff has always been, we have the best psychic powers.
Yep. So it's, I know the best spells of the best tree, and I cast them the best. And also my army doesn't work without these spells. Hence why the Farseer is always good.
Yeah. Guide has always been good. Fortune has always been good.
Doom
has always been good.
The Eldar Psychic Tree has always been the best in the game.
Almost always. There have been, I think the Eldar Psychic Tree has always been top 3 in the game.
Yeah.
Every other army have cycled, some have gotten close to the sun. No one else has had a long stint in the top 3.
Yeah.
Tyranids often have very good psychic powers.
Yes.
I'll give them that.
Demons too can also.
Demons too can put together some good ones, but Eldar are always top 3 in the game every single time.
Which I think they should be. Like, the High Elf Wizards should be really good.
I get it. It's part of their faction identity. I'm with it. That's their thing. The Farseer is just core to their thing.
Yep.
And for that reason, he is number 1 on our list of the most evergreen units in Warhammer 40k.
Bikeseer, or the Bikeseer is a little bit newer, but also typically does the same thing.
Yeah,
just Farseer on a bike.
Get one of each. Sure, we can here. All right, so that is going to finish up our list here. So all of these units we mentioned, and many more that we missed, I'm sure. These are just units that, up to this point, have always been good. They have no expiration date. They're good as gold. Now, there is no promise that GW won't nerf the Farseer tomorrow. And you know what?
Farseer as it stands probably deserves a nerf.
Yeah, it happens sometimes.
Does.
And maybe the Northern Queen will replace that lovely Hive Tyrant. But for now, and for as much of history as I can remember, these have been pretty dang good units to buy.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much for watching this video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you like this kind of content, make sure you like the content. Click that like button, share with your friends, and of course, please subscribe to the channel. That's going to help us grow our channel and continue to make more and more Warhammer 40,000 content for you here at Art of War. If you want even more 40k, though, well, you're going to want to click the link in the description. Check out the War Room. That's our wonderful global community where some of the best coaches in the game, myself, Quinton, Richard, Nick, Jack, many more, are there to help you become the best version of yourself. Become a better Warhammer player. And you get to be part of our wonderful global community in the Art of War Discord. Thank you so much for watching this, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.